Data is everywhere. Where is it going? What does it mean? Nobody knows. Well, maybe those who earn their MS in business analytics know. And businesses in all sectors need help in interpreting and using all the data surrounding us. Sound good? Today, I'm speaking to CMU Tepper's Director of Master's Admissions about its Master's in Business Analytics program, which is available in an online part-time format and a full-time in-residence format.
Welcome to Admission Straight Talk, the podcast dedicated to graduate admissions and helping you approach the application process thoughtfully and successfully. Your host is Accepted's founder and world-renowned admissions guru, Linda Abraham. At Accepted, our mission is to get you to that unforgettable moment when you read your acceptance email and shout, "Yes, I'm in!" Confident you'll be attending the perfect program to help you launch the career of your dreams.
Welcome to the 510th episode of Admission Straight Talk. Thanks for joining me. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to mention a resource at Accepted that can help you prepare your statement of purpose to data analytics, Masters of Science in Business Analytics, or any other master's program for that matter. Download 5 Fatal Flaws to Avoid in your grad school statement of purpose to learn how to avoid the 5 most common mistakes we see in graduate school statements of purpose, as well as how to write a statement of purpose that makes your story memorable and highlights your qualifications for your target programs. Download this valuable resource. It's free at accepted.com/510download. Again, that's accepted.com/510download. Our guest today is Kari Calvario. She is the Director of Master's Admissions at Carnegie Mellon Tepper School of Business. She earned her bachelor's in English literature and a master's in education. She joined Tepper in 2014 and has been there ever since. Kari, welcome to Admission Straight Talk.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to speak.
Wonderful. And I'm delighted to speak with you today. Now, let's start with a really basic question. We're going to focus on the Master's in Business Analytics programs at CMU Tepper. What are they? Can you provide an overview of both the full-time in-person option and the part-time online option?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for that first question. So the Tepper School, as any school, is always looking to diversify. We're looking to grow. You know, our MBA program has been our flagship program, but I think one of the really great things about Tepper is we're always looking to innovate. We're always looking for, what's relevant. And so with lots of conversations with employers, with alums, we found that there was this need for professionals who have not only advanced analytical skills, but then the ability to combine that with a business sense and be able to communicate those business needs, to be able to convince about business needs. So the Master's of Science in Business Analytics program was initially born as our part-time online version, which still exists to this day, but it was born out of that need of wanting to provide students with analytical skills and be able to combine it with the leadership and business skills that they would need. And so, as that program continued to grow over the last several years, it evolved and kind of branched also into our full-time MS Business Analytics program. So now we carry both of them. They are both really successful programs. So started with this need several years ago and the feedback that we got from employers, industry professionals, alums, and has now grown into 2 really successful programs.
That's great. It's interesting that in this particular case, the online came first. The online and part-time came first and the full-time followed.
Yeah.
Is AI becoming a more important part in the curriculum? I find it fascinating that it's a program that really seems to combine left brain, right brain, and that it's highly statistical and quantitative, but it also is very much about communications. And with all the publicity about, ChatGPT, AI, et cetera, is it becoming a more important part of the program?
I don't know that it's a more important part, but it's an integral part of it. We wouldn't be CMU if it wasn't something that was a part of our program. And so I think the lens that our curriculum is taught from, even something like a communication class, is all taught from this analytical lens, which of course lends itself to AI, to machine learning. When we talk about, this intelligent future, this background that I have, we talk about data informed, but human decisions. So, data can't make decisions, but it's such an important part of it. So it's data informed, but it's the human part of it. And so AI, it's like you just mentioned, it's this really unique combination of AI and the improvements that we can make, but we still need the human piece of it. And that's what I think our program is really good at.
It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. What distinguishes CMU Tepper's Master's in Business Analytics program from other BA programs, and what do the two programs, the online and offline, have in common?
Yeah. Well, you asked distinguish first, so I'll go with that first. Is
Okay.
the model, the business analytics model or analytics has existed at Tepper. And so I think what sets our program apart is our parent school, is the Tepper School of Business. This is something that, we've been at the forefront of analytical decision making. It's been the type of curriculum that we have, that we're not a case-based school. Cases have a place for sure, but we are founded in making decisions based off of data. And so when the business analytics program was formed, it was formed under that parent, kind of guidance, I guess, for lack of a better term of, we've done this before. And specifically when we first started with the online program, our part-time online MBA has existed for years and years and is consistently ranked in the top MBA programs. So from a delivery of the program, from a content, from the curriculum, being a sister program at the Tepper School with the MBA program, that's, I think, what sets it apart. Is this business analytics has become this hot topic, and very well it should, but it's something that has existed at the Tepper School in the MBA curriculum for quite some time. And so we've formalized that and of course have evolved it, or else why would we have a different program than the MBA? But the concepts, the structure, the faculty who are teaching in the program, that's all been really well established just at the Tepper School in general.
All right.
Yeah.
And so that was what distinguishes, what do the two programs have in common?
Right. And so what do they have in common is just that, is the exact same curriculum. And so a question that I get a lot in admissions is, will my diploma say part-time? Will my diploma say online? What will the diploma says Carnegie Mellon Tepper School, Masters of Science in Business Analytics. And because the graduation requirements are the same, the faculty teaching in the full-time on-campus program are the exact same faculty teaching in the part-time program. So the only difference is in the delivery of the program and the time it takes to complete it. And so because of that, there's no differences between the two. It's an MSBA from Tepper, no matter how you earn it.
No asterisks.
No asterisks. Nope.
Okay. What are some of the problems or projects that MSBA students have tackled? Anything particularly memorable?
Yeah. And, it's hard to go in a single conversation window without saying COVID. It's the world we all live in. So of course I'm going to go there, but from the business school perspective and from our business analytics perspective, our students have had some really unique opportunities to, we call them capstone projects or hands-on experiential learning, those sorts of things, that they've been able to work towards a specific goal. Maybe it's working with, our students have worked with Campbell's Soup before and forecasting, when everybody went home from, was sent home for 2 weeks in March of 2020, but then it turned into this long-term forecasting how many people are really having soup over their lunch break anymore, when really it was a throw it in your lunchbox, bring it to work. But then suddenly these issues start. So our students are working on those hands-on, trying to forecast, okay, some folks are returning to work, some are in this hybrid environment. How do we forecast the needs and the supply? So we're working with bigger, large organizations, but also smaller private organizations. Blood donors dropped during COVID. And so working with, private organizations to stabilize, just even something like blood donors and to get a predictable model of how do we stabilize getting our donorship back. And so it's these wide ranging projects, but they've been some really unique opportunities to be part of some really good things of helping companies get through this pandemic and things like that. They've had some really hands-on experiences that are really fascinating.
It sounds it, that's for sure. Now, I think you have the residential component. I guess it's a 9 months program, right? And then you have the part-time online program. Is there a residential component to the online program, and do the two programs ever meet?
Yeah. So just from the nature of our building, so the Tepper Quad is the home of the Tepper School of Business. There's certainly an opportunity, but there's no official overlap as in everybody's all together for this one reason or not. So for the 18 months, the online program, there is no required on-campus component. So you can do the entire program online. Certainly, though, campus is always open. There are opportunities. We call them immersion weekends, and so there's not an academic component to it, but at certain times throughout the year, it aligns with the curriculum. There are these immersion weekends where online students can come to campus. They spend Thursday night through Sunday morning. They might be meeting with their career counselor. They might be doing a leadership workshop. They might be doing some networking. And so there's some really unique opportunities to come to campus, but not every student. We have some international students who maybe can't travel. So there is no required academic component to those weekends. But they do have the opportunity to come here, be with their classmates. They're with their classmates online, Monday through Thursday, but really the opportunity to be in the same room together. So there is that opportunity for the online program.
And are the classes for the online program on the weekend or evenings, or is
They
it
are
asynchronous, synchronous?
Both.
What is?
Yeah, so both.
Okay.
We're a good blend. So we are both synchronous and asynchronous. I'd say it's probably about 80-20 of synchronous, and it's mostly synchronous. So if our students log in, and so classes are Monday through Thursday, no Tepper student ever has classes on a Friday, but Fridays tend to be their busiest day. It's group work, it's recruiting, it's catching up. But classes are in the evenings, Monday through Thursday. There are typically 2 sections offered. Usually it's like a 6 to 8 and an 8 to 10, or there's, so it's the exact same class, but 2 different sections. And so they have the option they have the ability to go to those classes. And it roughly shakes out to an East Coast time and a West Coast time, but you don't have to live in Pittsburgh to go to the 8 o'clock time zone if it's better for work. So what we've done is, most of the students in our online program are working professionals. And so maybe they have a stable work schedule. Some might be traveling, some might have later hours. And so if they're logging into a class, we want it to be worth their while, right? So we want them to have interaction with their professor. We want them to interact with their teammates. So there's going to be projects. So, they're not logging into a live class and taking a final or something like that. So the asynchronous classes, which they know in advance, can be, watch this video, react to the prompt, or things like that. So if they're coming to the synchronous classes, they're really beneficial.
Got it. What kind of academic background are you looking for in applicants to these programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's another question that it's probably my second most asked question.
Sure, it's a very frequently asked question.
So we are, because, so as I mentioned, we're an analytical program, we're a quantitative program. It's kind of like a double-edged, where we celebrate that. And we're really proud. And we're really proud of the curriculum we have. But then I think we kind of push back a little bit that it doesn't mean one size doesn't fit all, one undergrad major, one course preparation. And so what we do look for, though, is aptitude. So we want you to be able to come into our program to be academically successful. You're going to have quantitative classes. You're going to have some programming classes. You're going to have these analytical classes. So have you seen programming before? It doesn't mean you have to be this expert coder in R and Python, but are you familiar with it? Have you maybe taken some Coursera courses? So, there are backgrounds, I think, that naturally fit. A lot of engineers are naturally attracted to Tepper. Maybe it's software engineers, computer scientists, but it's more about the types of classes that you've taken. So have you seen some more high-level math classes? Have you seen some programming courses? Doesn't mean you had to have majored in it, but just so that you can transition into, your very first semester, you're taking probability and statistics, which uses R. And so it's more about the aptitude. So we dig really deeply into applications. So yes, you're an economics major, but I'm going to dig into your transcript and see what classes have you taken? Have you, what have you done in your work? Do you have any certifications? Is there anything or what is there that lets me think, yeah, you can come here and you can be successful in the program, knowing there's resources and there's always going to be help, but what's the aptitude that you have? So sure, experience with technical skills, but it's not a requirement.
All right. So if I was a political science major as an undergrad, and I took the minimum amount of math that I had to take, if I were to wake up one morning, and I was a lot younger, and I decided I wanted to get a master's in business analytics, you would advise me to take some statistical classes, some quantitative classes, make sure, and probably some programming classes, either at my local community college or extension or Coursera or something like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Spoken from an English major, like you when you introed me. So, and I took the minimum to graduate and moved out of that school.
Right.
So yeah, and so what I would say is, you don't have to send me a transcript from Carnegie Mellon that says you got an A. There are other ways to show it, but I'd say, hey, here's what you're going to see in your first semester. Here's what you're going to see in your first year. Let's talk about some things that can prepare you for that. So it's more of a conversation. Folks are always welcome to give our office a call. We can't go through an application and say, this will get you in, this will not get you in.
Of course.
You understand that, but we can say, hey, I would really love to see you, go take an online computer science course and get a little more familiar with these basic programming languages, or go audit a calc course or a linear algebra course or something like that, or write me an optional essay in your application that says, hey, I don't have these formal classes. I was a political science major, but here's what I've been doing in my work since. I'm using Tableau. I'm doing these different things. I'm building these really complex reports and work. I'm self-taught, but I've got the skill set. I wouldn't know that if you didn't put it in your optional essay, but once I read it, that'll prepare you sometimes even better than a class that you took 10 years ago.
Sure. What about experience? Okay, so we've talked about academic background. What about experiential background?
Yeah.
It seems like the online program is a little bit more geared towards those people with full-time work experience, and the full-time program, the in residence program, is more of a pre-experience program.
Yep.
Could you dive into that a little bit?
Sure. And you're exactly right, Linda. So again, it's kind of the evolution of the program. So when we began, and it's our part-time online program, and it has really grown, year to year. We've got, about 50 students in it each year, which is what I think is a really healthy number. A lot of those folks kind of see the need for business analytics in their current company, and they want to use the degree to move on to more senior roles, or maybe making an industry shift, but they kind of want to take the skill set and use it to move into become the subject matter expert, become the analytics expert in their company, get that promotion, reach that next senior level. When the full-time program launched and it's more pre-professional, that was feedback from employers saying, okay, here's kind of the types of jobs, and perhaps we'll talk about that, but the types of jobs we see are more for folks who are just going to start out in the industry. So they're pre-professional. Maybe you've had a couple analytics internships, or you've got a year or two as a data analyst or something like that. But given the curriculum and the recruiters that we're talking to are saying, yeah, you're going to be highly employable, but it's not going to be that I'm already established at this company and I want to move into a more senior position. It's going to be, I'm just starting out in the industry. I know I've got this really, really desired skill set. And that's going to help me really break into this new industry.
For the pre-professional program, do you like to see relevant internships?
I do. Yeah, I do. I do. And I think too it's natural, right? So whether it's an internship in banking, whether it's are we looking for quants? Are we looking for, data analysts? Not specifically. We've seen folks who've had internships in investment banking. We've seen folks who've had internships. One of my favorite, applicants interned at Disney, but was doing some analytical work at Disney. And so I think it can go across industries, but versus me, to keep using myself as an example, I interned at a library. I did nothing with analytics. I loved it, but I probably don't have the relevant internship experience, to be looking for at my time at my local library. So while we're not picky, or we're not, just kind of like, well, you weren't working at a SaaS company, or you weren't doing something like that. It's not that. It's more of, that seemed like it was a really impactful, or you returned for 2 summers, you interned the summer of your junior year, you returned the next year. That obviously means that your work, that your performance was well received. So that's a good indicator of potentially how you recruit and how you interview. So there's different ways to do it, but yeah, seeing those relevant internships helps.
Okay. All right, fine. Now, I'm going to guess that occasionally a student struggles in the MSBA program, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why they struggled? Is there any pattern that would help you, I guess, not admit people who struggle?
Yeah, that's a completely fair question. And it's a reality, and we have support. We have our academic office, our program office. I think there's a couple different things. Is for our part-timers is time and the time commitment. it's an extra 20 hours a week on top of most likely your full-time job, maybe a family, maybe, all sorts of things. And so I think it's just being realistic. And I think it's not about intelligence. The folks that are applying to our program are all super, super bright, but maybe they're not used to spending 20 additional hours. When you're an undergrad and that's your whole world, maybe that's what you can devote to it. But when you're juggling different, real, adult experiences to add on 20 additional hours. And so I think it's our job in admissions, through whether it's the admissions interview, whether it's just the materials, whether it's just phone calls I have with somebody who's interested in the program, to say like, hey, you're going to get a lot of support here and you're really bright, but I need you to know too, you're going to have to put in some work. And it's not a light program. It's not, you hear, like we talked about, you hear part-time, you see online, it's a lot of work. But it's 18 months and then you've done it and you've got the degree and you've moved on. So I think it's just being really intentional. And we try in our office to be really authentic and to say like, hey, we really want you to be a part of our program. Let's have a conversation. But I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to have to put in some work to be successful in this program. And, the full-time classes, and we're recruiting or doing admissions right now for the second cohort. So less data, from a Tepper standpoint, less data, but it's just, I think, but the sentiment kind of remains the same of, this is the big leagues. Like, this is a master's program. Yeah. You can do really well in an undergrad, but you're going into a master's program now, and you are living on your own and doing those sorts of things. So I think it's being upfront with candidates, whether on our website, whether in one-on-one conversations, of saying like, we are going to support you to the nth degree. And we need to see some, we need to see some on your end too.
Sure. Okay. Great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's move into the admissions realm. Okay.
Sure.
Can you describe the application process for the MSBA?
Yeah, I sure can. And it's exactly the same. So I've talked a little bit of like, well, for online, it's this, for full-time, it's this. Same application. You literally just select which program that you're applying for. So it's a pretty standard application process, Linda. It only takes about 30 minutes from start to finish. And I always joke that the reason I know that is I made my little sister submit an application and time it. So as any good big sister, I was like, hey, I need a neutral party to tell me like, what are the roadblocks in our application? So I made my little sister do it. So it takes about 30 minutes from start. That doesn't account for selecting your 2 recommenders, and I can talk about that in a second. But start to finish, from as far as like all the data you're providing, the information, plugging in your academics, 30 minutes. So like most places, we're going to ask for transcripts. We're going to ask for 2 letters of recommendation. We use an internal form. It's not a free form letter. But 2, they can be academic or they can be professional. We've got a short answer question and a video essay, which is new to this year and is actually really, really helped on the admission review side, because it gets candidates in front of us sooner. We see their presence, we can, hear about their goals. So we really, really like that addition we've had. And so it's an entirely online application. It can be started and stopped at any time. So it auto saves, so you can start it out of curiosity one night and then finish it, a couple nights later. So it'll always be there for you. So we've tried to make it as straightforward as possible and, as painless as we can. So all the standard things, transcripts, a resume, 2 letters of recommendation. We do have a test waiver policy. So we're not test up. Like, it's not like you can tell me yes, no for a test, but you submit a simple essay saying, hey, here's why I think I can apply in lieu of the GMAT or the GRE. And we review that and let folks know. And then we review applications.
All right. Sounds good. In terms of the test waiver, do they have to submit the test waiver, so many weeks before the deadline, or how does that work?
No, just part of the application. And so then, so we've got an upcoming application deadline. So within 10 business days after that deadline, we let folks know. And it's not a yes, you're in, no, you're not in, but it's a, hey, we gave you a waiver. It's not an indicator of admission. It's an indicator that you've provided enough evidence that you don't need to submit the GMAT or the GRE, or, hey, we need you to either give us a test or go take the GMAT or the GRE. Let us know the time frame that you might do it. So if somebody's not granted a waiver, it's not the end of the road for them. There's just some more steps. Sometimes folks have a test score and they're able to provide it to us. Others need a little bit of time to study for it. They might push their application to a later round, which is completely fine with us.
Okay, great. Now, the essay question asks about your, quote, your objective in pursuing the MSBA.
Yeah.
And CMU also asked for up to the 2-minute video, which you mentioned, which asks them to discuss your post-MSBA goals.
Yeah.
Now, some applicants may feel that the questions are duplicative. Can you provide guidance on how to make the most of each question?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that. So I think it might actually be a little duplicative, honestly. And maybe we need to wordsmith that a little bit.
I guess your little sister didn't catch that one, huh?
No, so I think what we see a lot with the written essay question is folks saying, here's why now. Here's why I'm 1 year out of undergrad, or if I'm, part-time, I'm 10 years out of undergrad. I've had conversations with my supervisors. And so it's more of that and so, perhaps it's better to frame it as, what's your motivation to pursue an MSBA at this time? And so, and I think that's driven by where you are professionally, where you are in your life. And so to say, okay, I'm a recent graduate and I know that business analytics is the hot item right now. I almost came to see, we get a lot of folks I wanted to come to CMU for undergrad and now I have this opportunity. So I think the written essay is more asking for, what's your motivation at this point to apply? The video essay, we worked really closely in partnership with our Master's Career Center. It's the same essay that we ask our MBA candidates as well, of talk us through your goals. Of course, with MSBA, it's likely I'm going to move into an analyst role. I'm going to work for this company, but the thought that goes into it of thinking through, here's some companies that I think I might want to work for. We don't specifically ask a plan B, but we give some guidance on, maybe share a plan B, show kind of the pencil versus pen argument. And so the video essay is the opportunity to say, let me talk to you about my goals and talk to you about the companies and why I think I'm interested in that. But I'm also open to knowing, it might take me a couple steps before I reach maybe my top company.
So it's more long-term.
Yeah. So it's more encompassing, but maybe we'll do some updating of those words, Linda.
Okay. What can an interviewee expect if lucky enough to be invited to interview?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Our interviews are by invitation only. We don't have the capacity to interview everyone. So we do a pretty nice 30-minute interview. It's conducted by a member of the admissions team. So myself or any of my colleagues who are admission officers. It's a behavioral style interview. So a lot of tell me about a time when, give me an example. So we always recommend candidates brush up on the STAR technique, the situation, the task, the action, and the result. It just helps to keep answers succinct. But I think too is we're very conversational. So of course we have a goal of the interview. We're trying to assess kind of fit for the program, but it's not meant to be a test. So how I am today is how I am in an interview. So I like to be, I want to get to know these folks. So because our interviewers they're figuring out if they want to come just as much as we're trying to assess it if they will be. So I would say be prepared with maybe 3 to 5 specific examples at work about leadership, about teamwork, about a time you were challenged, things like that, and allow the interviewer to lead. So 30 minutes flies by. We've got things we need to get through, but there's always time for questions at the end. So it's 30 minutes, allow your interviewer to lead, but ask 1 or 2 questions at the end that you can't really see on the website. I've had folks, Linda, ask me about my thesis from my master's degree because it's on my LinkedIn. I don't even remember my thesis from my master's degree, but it has shown me that they've taken the time to just dig a little bit deeper than the website. Or, I've been at Tepper a long time. I've been here 9 years. My favorite question to answer is the growth that I've seen or where I see the program headed. That to me shows this, this candidate is really being thoughtful about, the questions they're asking instead of like, what's the tuition or something that's easily accessible on the website.
Of course, right. Now, when this show airs, there will be still 2 rounds available for this application cycle. Yeah. March 26th and May 7th are the upcoming, or will be the upcoming deadlines at that point. Is an applicant at a disadvantage if they apply in these later rounds? And are they better off waiting until next year?
Yeah, totally fair question. Absolutely not at a disadvantage. So we've got the 4 formal rounds for a reason. We don't have our fingers crossed behind our back. And so if you're a competitive applicant in round 1, you're a competitive applicant in round 3. We don't have a cap of the program that we're trying to hit. We, especially as this program is growing, we want the folks in the program who are, of course, going to be academically successful and be able to get the jobs that they want, but who are going to be good contributors to the classroom, that are going to be team players, that are going to be leaders. And so sometimes those folks don't apply until round 3 or until round 4. And so absolutely not at a disadvantage. The only even caveat that I add is if you're an international student, the reason we recommend earlier is because of the visa process. So did we admit folks last year in the later rounds, and did they get visas? Yes, but that's a process out of our hands. And so my recommendation for an international student would be earlier, but absolutely you can apply in a later round. You just have a little bit less time to get your visa if you're admitted.
Okay, great. Another question. This is kind of going back to, I think, something we touched on earlier, but how does the MSBA differ from an MBA with a focus on analytics or a master's in management with a focus on analytics?
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 simple ways. And so the first is it's more technical.
Okay.
So even if and it's more applied. And so what I mean by that is it's a lot of business classes, but it's business classes taught with the lens of analytics. And so I think I referenced it before, but I always think of our communication class, they're all taught with this eye towards being analytics professionals. So in a communications class, they focus on the science of storytelling and using data to do storytelling. And so it's a communication class by nature, but it's with an analytic lens. And so some of our core classes at the business school aren't even taught as electives for the MBA program because they're all specifically looking more towards that analytics lens. And so that's the first, and then it's just the application, like how do you apply analytics? It's one thing to learn about it, but then the application of it in these experiential learning courses to be able to say, okay, here's this industry, here's how we're going to apply analytics to it. So it's in kind of the application and then just being more technical overall.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you touched on this earlier also, but maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into it. What jobs are graduates of the programs getting, and how does CMU Tepper help them find those jobs?
Yeah.
Are you seeing on-campus recruiting coming back to Carnegie Mellon?
Yeah, we are. And it's really interesting, Linda. So just recently, the admissions office moved and we combined with our Master's Career Center in one suite. And it's been really, really exciting because it's almost like the front end with admissions where, we're the folks kind of talking, and then to see the end, but, we're seeing the recruiters who are coming in, we've got a shared lobby space. So that's just my kind of, silly anecdote, but so recruiters are coming to campus. And so we're in our first cohort of a full-time MSBA who are recruiting, they're in the process of getting offers. And so we're still kind of waiting and seeing what type of jobs. Certainly our prediction is they're going to get, early career analytics jobs. They're going to get business or data analytics jobs. Our part-timers, I think, are getting promotions. They're moving into more senior analyst roles within their companies. But with these full-time folks, I think we are seeing that. But the support that they get is kind of twofold. They get support from the Tepper Master's Career Center. So they get one-on-one coaching from the Career Center. They get resume reviews. They get mock interviews. They get all of these things in addition to at the Carnegie Mellon Career Center level. And so they're able to work with just both the Tepper Career Center and the larger Carnegie Mellon Career Center with access to career fairs that happen at Carnegie Mellon, specific analytic career fairs that are happening. And so the levels of support are quite robust, from one-on-one coaching all the way up to, kind of unique access to Carnegie Mellon analytic career fairs.
And does the part-time program also have access to the Career Center, or just the full-time? Yep. They do.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. They do. They've got the one-on-one coaching. They've got the access to recruiters. So by no means does a part-timer can formally recruit. They do not have to come, or they do not have to only come to the program if they're looking to stay at their company. They absolutely can recruit. Their resume becomes part of Tepper's resume book. So, as different, Carnegie, we've got partnerships with over, 200 recruiting partners who are coming and recruiting. They get a Tepper resume book. And so even our MSBA students, their resumes are part of this resume book that employers can access.
Okay, great. Now, what about applicants who are planning ahead for next fall.
Yeah.
They're not going to apply this cycle.
Yeah.
How can they prepare to apply successfully? I mean, would that go back pretty much to doing the internships, demonstrating the aptitude if they don't have the classes? I mean, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I recommend all of that. I think those are excellent points, Linda. And I think too is to try and connect with a community as well. And so we've got student ambassadors. And so it's on our website of folks who are current students in the program who don't report their conversations back to admissions. So you can have these conversations of what is life like, what's the class word, how can I prepare? They also, though, don't have a bearing on admissions. So so they're truly just kind of neutral conversations, but they're really great because they're living it and they're breathing the program. And so talk with a student ambassador. We're probably in the next couple of weeks going to get some campus visits up and running. And so those will go throughout the spring, throughout the summer. And so to come to campus, eat lunch with the MSBA students. If you're a part-time student who can't get to campus, we've got class visits. We've got our online class visits. They're live Tepper classes. You're kind of a fly on the wall, but you can see the interaction between faculty and students, between classmates. And so in addition to kind of taking that objective look at, okay, are there any classes maybe I could take or I could audit? If you're a college senior and I guess you're in probably your spring semester, but maybe there's an opportunity to tack on a class. So of course there's that, but I think the kind of in addition to that is, how do I really learn more about my fit with this community? Whether it's the 9-month full-time or the 18-month part-time, it's a quick program, but you still it's going to make a lasting impact. And so you want to make sure that this is the right place for me. And so take advantage of the resources that we provide to immerse yourself in Tepper.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
What question would you like to answer that I haven't asked?
That's a great question. I think it would be, I don't have the background you've talked about. Can I come to Tepper? And so I talked about that a little bit, but the answer is, I don't know if you can come. I don't know. It's a holistic application review. Can you apply and should you apply? Absolutely. Do not count yourself out, because I think I'm very much like a list maker. Like I have this check, I have this check. I can go, okay, now I can go apply to Tepper. It is holistic. We don't have our fingers crossed behind our back of, yes, we talked about aptitude. I don't mean to repeat myself, but I don't want folks to count themselves out of this program, because there is no one set recipe for admission. And so what if I'm not an engineer? What if I don't have this class? What if I don't have that? Well, then let's have a conversation and let's talk about what you do have and what can help make you be successful. My answer might be, or my suggestion might be, hey, you might need to go take a class or two just so that you get here and you can be successful. My answer is not going to be, don't talk to me. Don't, get it, don't apply. We pride ourselves on being this really approachable. We want to talk to folks. We want to share more about the program. We're trying to grow our program, both of them, whether the part-time's been around several more years. We always want to move and grow forward. If we had the same people applying, we can't get diverse thought, we can't get diverse backgrounds, and that doesn't make for an enriching program. So should I apply to your program if I don't, meet the certain mold? Absolutely. And if you're not sure about it, give us a call and we'll talk about it.
And you'll give them some advice as to what they can do to prepare themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, Kari, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed learning about CMU Tepper's 2 flavors of MSBA programs, and it's not chocolate and vanilla. It's right. Online, offline, full-time, part-time. Listener, you'll find links in the show notes at accepted.com/510 to both of CMU Tepper's MSBA programs. I also want to encourage you, listener, to download 5 Fatal Flaws to Avoid in your grad school statement of purpose. You can find it at accepted.com/510 download, or by going to the show notes at accepted.com/510 and clicking on the link, where you'll also find links to CMU Tepper's MSBA programs. And you'll find other relevant resources and links. Listener, thank you too for tuning in to this, our 510th episode. If you find this show helpful, subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or whatever podcatcher you prefer. You can find subscribe links at, you guessed it, accepted.com/510. This is Admission Straight Talk, produced by Accepted, and I am your host, Linda Abraham. I'll talk to you again next week.